Hey, so I have just got back from 5 months in China, and I want to just express my feelings, my what I miss, what I don't miss. I'm going to make this into two videos. One side will be about China, that is what I miss, what I don't miss. The other side about the UK, i.e., what I welcome back, what I'm happy to see again, and what I'm less happy to see again. So, if you have any questions, as always, feel free to ask. I want to make these videos right now while they're still fresh in my mind because I've literally just been back for a day. A few quick things about the journey. I got a high-speed train from Kylie, Nan to Shanghai Hongqiao station. From there, a close friend of mine got me a hotel for the night. She drove me there, and then the next day there was a sort of concierge car service to the airport, Shanghai Pudong. Shanghai is a massive city. I mean, it really is, if not the largest city in the world, it's certainly in the top five. It is a massive city. Um, so takes a long time to get around the place. Anyway, Shanghai Pudong, I kind of know the layout of it, so I've been there before. It's relatively straightforward. It's not a particularly complicated airport, although it's a big airport. Um, 11 and a half hours KLM to Amsterdam Schiphol. Now, that's a little bit longer than the journey out. I don't know why, because it was almost exactly the same route, which is over the northern route, which is Russia, and Mongolia, Russia, Central Asia. The other route would be via the Middle East, which I understand is longer. Comfortable journey. I watched three films. I watched, let me get this right, Chappaquiddick, which was a drama about Ted Kennedy's scandal in 1969. Um, Bad Times at the El Royale, which I thought was quite similar to Identity. It was a hotel thriller. I thought it was a very good thriller, actually. I think it deserves more attention. And what a part of the film called Axel, which is not usually my sort of film, but I rather enjoyed it, about a teenage boy who befriends a mechanical dog. So it's an interesting film. Anyway, no complaints at all about the journey. Nothing went wrong. Everything was smooth. I mean, such a long journey. I always expect something to go wrong. I expect my case won't go through or something. At Shanghai, I'd actually asked about that. I said, "Look, this is for Newcastle. Will my case go the whole way through?" And the girl spoke some English. She said, "Yeah, that's fine," but she checked the ticket. But I just had this apprehension that it would be stuck in Amsterdam or something. Amsterdam Schiphol is also a very big airport, and it's a somewhat confusing airport because it's very, very long. I mean, there must be kilometers of corridors in that airport. I was there for 4 hours and I was pretty shattered. I had three lattes, done a lot of reading, bit of writing. It was At that point I was getting quite drained. I got my connecting flight to Newcastle, very short flight, 1 hour, but my eyes were just going, but I couldn't quite sleep. Newcastle, fingers crossed. There it was. The bag came through, no issues. And there was no issues either with the Brexit thing going on about getting through immigration. Nothing has changed yet. And I asked the security man, would anything change? And he said, as far as he knew, this is useful for British travellers. As far as he knew, nothing will change except the label on the queues. That's all. But in terms of British nationals, nothing's going to change in terms of us coming back to the UK from holidays. So, I want to just talk about what I miss about China as a start, and I'll try not to make this video too long. And like I said, I'm going to make a follow-up video about the UK. My students at Kylie number one, it was hard saying goodbye. I'm going to miss their enthusiasm, their individual personalities, their quirks, the warm welcome they gave me, and just the general feeling of teaching. It was a great thing. I loved it. It's not to say every lesson was easy, but I feel sad even thinking about it now. I feel I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss it a lot. My Chinese colleagues at Kylie number one, this is not something I've always experienced, but at that particular school, I felt fortunate. My colleagues were very decent people, very friendly and welcoming, and they had a pretty decent level of English, so I had a very good rapport with them. And I don't mind saying I made some friends through my teaching colleagues there, and I will miss them as well. Just the overall sense of excitement and experience working on the other side of the world. It's not a normal thing. It's not a everyday thing. To uproot yourself and go to another country for work is a big, big thing. And I'm proud of the fact that I've done it. I do feel I've made achievements, and I miss that excitement. Chinese culture, food, and the fact it was always something new to see. I am reading off a list here. I put it on my Facebook timeline. Um, Chinese culture is a very abstract term, but there is China is a fascinating country. There is always something new to see. I don't know how anyone, an outsider, can get bored in China because it's such a big country that even if you're in a small city, there's so many travel opportunities. Now the connection of high speed railways has really helped a lot. You definitely see the difference from that and the old regular trains that I used to take. So I will miss that. I will miss just the fact that there's so many opportunities to travel to see things. Um, a country with thousands of years of history is always going to be fascinating for anyone who likes history. Um, and I will miss the warmth and generosity of my Chinese hosts in general, not just the school, also my company, just people in general. I found the Chinese are quite hospitable. They're generous people. I mean, you'll be invited out for dinner, they'll just pay for everything. It's that generosity is something that I will miss. I'm not saying we don't have it in the UK as well, but just it's something you do notice over there. Guilin and Yangshuo. Now, this isn't where I was teaching; it's where my company was based. But that place is special for me, and it always will be in my heart. And there's nowhere like it on earth. There really is nowhere like. Okay, in terms of landscape, maybe North Vietnam is similar, but there's something about that place that is kind of romantic, kind of special, and even thinking now, it's difficult. I'm not going to break down in tears or anything like that, but I don't know when I'll next be there. And it's something that I will definitely miss. And definitely my friends in the company as well. That goes without saying. Now, things I will not miss, and I've been very vocal about these in certain videos. I will absolutely not miss the increasing control and authoritarianism of the Chinese government. This is without question. I've been to the country twice. 5 years ago, it was not as intense. China's always been authoritarian, but I do believe that under Xi Jinping, far from being a reformer, things have got a lot worse in terms of the general crackdown on dissent, human rights abuses. The overall situation, I believe, has got worse. What's happening in Xinjiang is an absolute travesty. And over there, I did put some of these things at the back of my mind simply for practical reasons, because if you overthink them, you'll just get into this schism of depression, and there's very little you can do. So that is something I was not comfortable with. And it's everyone. I mean, they're planning to introduce some sort of ID in bigger cities, which will be a data of every single aspect. I understand it's some sort of point system, every aspect of people's lives. This is absolutely 1984, and it's scary. It is scary. I will not miss that. I will not miss the propaganda and the dishonesty from state level about basically the darker aspects of the last 70 years, the complete censorship of the Great Leap Forward, the Cultural Revolution, Tiananmen Square. I think it's disgusting how the Chinese government lies about those things and deceives people en masse. I think it is an absolute, I think it's the biggest deception of modern times anywhere in the world because of its scale. Um, and the fact that that indoctrination goes on at a very young age. So it made me very uneasy. I was in a position where I constantly had to kind of self censor. Now, in my apartment, I was relatively free to make videos, but I was still cautious. Here, I can speak openly and I know no one is going to care. You don't get that over there. You do find yourself somewhat looking over your back to some extent, and you find yourself having to self censor because you're always wondering is the person you're speaking to, they might be friendly, they might be warm, they may well be a party member. So you just have to be very careful over there. I had colleagues who were party members, and it doesn't take away from the personal feelings. They were helpful, friendly, and I reciprocated as best I could. If they wanted help, some tips about work or something, I would always be happy to oblige. But My FAO was basically a member of the Communist Party, and I knew that I had to be FAO, by the way, as Foreign Affairs Officer. I got on well with her. We had no issues, but I was always aware that I had to be careful what I was saying because the indoctrination is so deep that there is a knee jerk defensiveness whenever there's a perception that an outsider is criticizing. And okay, you might get that everywhere on some level, but in China, there's actually legal consequences. You could find yourself on Trump dumps charges of being a spy. So it's a very, it's quite a dangerous situation in that sense. I don't mean China is a dangerous country. It's not. I mean, crime isn't particularly high. The chances of being attacked over there are almost non-existent. But those are things I will not miss. On a non-political issue, some public habits. There is a thing in China. People spit openly and loudly. I'm not going to miss that. In Britain, people do it, but they're frowned upon. Whereas in China, it's kind of accepted. But overall, I'd say it was more positive than negative. I have no regrets about going back. I made new friends. I met up with old friends, not as many as I would have liked. If I have regrets, it would be that I had to leave early for a few reasons. My grandfather was sick. That was something that was beyond anyone's control. And there were just general problems going on in the company, and they got a bad feeling that, without going into the details, someone from my company got into some legal issues and to do with her visa, and the company got nervous and they advised us all to leave as soon as possible. And because of the background, because of the tensions between China and Canada and the reverberation of other Western countries, I took their advice and I left early. That's a bitter pill to swallow. It meant having to sacrifice meeting up with friends and a whole month of seeing one of the most beautiful places on earth. So I do feel that's going to take a bit of time to get over. But overall, I had a very good experience. I think I'll be back in China. I just don't know exactly when, and I don't know exactly what capacity. But I've no regrets about going back there. I learned a lot of things. I made friends, and I love China. I don't love the Communist Party, and it's what I call my China paradox. There's an aspect of China I really love, and there's aspects, to be candid, I hate. I hate the control. I hate the dishonesty, and I hate the ultranationalism that is definitely growing there. But that ultranationalism doesn't mean that you're not welcomed, that you're not treated well. I was, and I can't complain because generally people were very accommodating. But you are aware of those things, and that's my honest feedback about my time in China. I will go back because that country is. I have too many connections there to mean that that's it. I'm never going to go back. I will go back. But I think next time I'm going to be even more assertive than I was. It's not that I was reckless, but things are only getting worse. And there is a fear among the teaching community that because of the tensions between East and West, the government may be gradually phasing out all teachers, which would be really sad from a personal point of view because we'll miss the experience, but also it will be counterproductive because English is the international language and they'll be shooting themselves in the foot if they put up this barrier to people who are coming in to help. Our job is critical. It's providing China's young generation with the tools for the future because the English language is critical in terms of if you want to do anything in this world in terms of business and so on. English is a very, very important language. So I think that would be a mistake, and I really hope they don't go down that path. I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching.